Good afternoon and welcome to Just Jocelyn. Today's show is Week in Review. I'm going to try and do this once a month, just solo. Aren't you thrilled? It gets harder and harder to get guests here, and they've got busy lives, so not going to beat anybody up over it. But I just thought there's so much going on in the world. Why don't I make this sort of a regular thing? So I'm going to call it Week in Review, and let's get started. So I don't know. The big story Monday was the eclipse. We haven't had it since I believe it was 2017. And I seem to remember in my lifetime watching the eclipse, and I don't think I was impressed. Maybe I was too young. Maybe I was too busy. I know a couple of times it was very cloudy. You know, I don't know. Maybe I was busy being a mom. Sort of all sorts of excuses, but, you know, I think we all have to think back and say, did you stop and smell the roses and watch the eclipse and take it fully in? Well, I did this time, and I had my mom and my daughter-in-law, and it was a nice day, so what we decided to do was go into the driveway. So we pulled out the chairs and set all up, and I did get the glasses, you know, the special ISO 212, whatever they were, and we had 2 pair each, and so we set up and we had the glasses and we were there to watch. Didn't just do it last minute. We actually took the time off, and you know, had water and snacks and all sorts of stuff like that. We had our cameras, and so the second set of glasses was to go over the camera so that we could hold it up and you could look through your phone and you could see with the glasses what you could see. The same as you saw with your eyes with the glasses. So I have to say, in full disclosure, I really don't remember using glasses. So I think that's when we did the shoebox and you stuck it through the hole and you watched it in the shoebox. Yeah, uneventful and not thrilling and totally boring. So this time, used the glasses and I put them on and I looked at the sun, and it was pretty amazing. It was very simple, but totally amazing. It's a perfect orange circle. So my only question is, when you look at the sun, and I know it's your eyes and everything it comes through, it looks glowy and it's got a halo and, you know, it's not even and perfect like this. But with these glasses on, it's perfect like this. And I just kept thinking, are we going to watch the explosions on the sun? Are we going to see the solar flares? This is such a perfect picture. So it ended up turning out that night that there was a huge chat on Telegram, and everybody that had done the similar things took the time out. We all had the discussions, and we came up with, I think it was 27 questions of what if. Is it real? We got a little crazy, but when you think about it, why did those glasses make the sun perfect? And if it was so perfect, why wouldn't we see a solar flare or a blemish or some kind of mark on it? Well, we didn't. So that was our first question, our first what if. We watched as it crept from, you know, if I'm looking at the sun here, it came from the lower right and came up. And it was really pretty amazing. I thought it moved fairly quickly. I mean, it took 30 to 40 minutes, but I thought it moved quick enough that I could see the shadow. And that was pretty amazing. I did try to take a few pictures with the glasses on it, because without it, it was just this bright mess and would look terrible when you took a picture. But when you put the actual special glasses on it, you looked at it, you're like, ooh, that looks just like my eyes. But when you take the picture, it's very disappointing. It was not the same as what you were looking at, in full disclosure. So that was really disappointing. I know some people took great pictures. My phone didn't. None of our phones did, but that's all right. I just have to say that I thought it was the most energizing, relaxing, positive thing I have done in a long time. And it didn't involve me doing anything but sitting down and buying a pair of special eclipse glasses and watching the eclipse. So that's my open to be positive. If you ever get the chance again, do it. But I'm glad I didn't drive to Vermont. I really am glad I didn't drive to Vermont. All right, so on that note, Let's see, what else? Oh, there was a question that somebody brought up in the chat on Telegram. And this one lady had said, so here's the sun. And if the moon came this way across, where did it go afterwards? It just sort of disappeared. You didn't see it again. So I thought that was a good question. And the other thing is, if the sun and the moon rise from the east and go to the west, why was the moon, she asked, why was the moon going from the west across through the sun between us? So did it just keep going over here and then come back again when it was dark? I know, silly questions, but that's what came up. So I'm not afraid to ask the silly questions, because if someone's got an answer, I'd love to hear it. All right, so let's jump on in. All right, let's go backwards a little bit. I got some really crazy numbers in several reports, on the news, on the internet, going back up and doing a little research. 326,000 people have been flown directly from other countries. Actually, it's 8 countries, very specific ones that Joe Biden has flown them in. 326,000. And guess whose money's paying for it? Yours and mine. Taxpayer money. We did not authorize this. And you say, well, Jocelyn, we don't have to authorize that. That's the president. He gets to do that. No, he doesn't. Read your Constitution, the New Hampshire Constitution. Read the United States Constitution. He's the executive branch, one of 3 branches. He has very limited powers. Well, he writes executive orders. Executive orders apply to his government, his administration, his people, the state. Not you and me. We're citizens. Just like the governor cannot write rules and regulations for you and me. Only the legislature can do that with approval by we the people. The president is not the same. He doesn't make law. An executive order, so if you're on the executive board of a business, your executive orders go to your employees. Well, I'm not an employee of the federal government, and I'm not an employee of the state of New Hampshire, neither are you, unless you actually work for the state. So their executive orders are for them. So that said, there's nowhere in the Constitution where it says the President of the United States can take our tax money and spend it on illegals, people in other countries, to bring them here so he's participating in criminal actions. Too simple? I don't think so. Problem is, our world's gotten too complicated, and we have too many people doing this, calling themselves lawyers and attorneys and experts in this, when why don't you open the Constitution and read it as it was written? Well, the other thing that I keep hearing is, well, it's awfully old. I'm sorry, the founding fathers, when they wrote this, made a little tweak to it before they released it. And it said that we, the people, can amend the Constitution at any time. There's a lot of rules and regulations that go with it, but it is in the Constitution. So how come in 250 years you didn't change certain things? See where I'm going? So he's flying in 326,000 illegal criminals into our country on our dime. So you're working X amount of hours to fly Mr. Nobody and Mrs. Nobody, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner, but I don't want to attach a name, into this country to get debit cards for $10,000, to get put up in a hotel, to get put up in schools and all these different places, free food, free schooling, free this, free that. But you and I have to pay our full share with our kids and our families. Just throwing it out there, food for thought. So anyway, a ginormous amount. I'm trying to think of the number, and I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. But a huge amount. I want to say, I think it was about 100,000, but I'll correct myself if I'm wrong when I find that number, went to Florida, to a Republican state. And they all scream and yell, you know, oh, all these illegals, all this. Well, they were flown directly to Miami and Tampa and released. And then they were given a ticket to go wherever they want. So while all this talking about, oh, it's all in Texas, oh, it's all here. Well, those are the people coming across the southern border. We have hundreds of thousands being flown in by Joey B on our tax dollars and sent to any city or town that they want. Look it up. It's pretty scary. We need to find out how many ended up in every state that we're all paying for. So, you know, people need to pay attention to what the real story is and not the garbage on Fox News or CNN or whatever all these other stations are. They're telling us in concert all together the same thing. They change a few words. The truth is, all sorts of dirty things are being done behind our back. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of my tax money going to take care of everybody else and not the children in America, not our homeless in America, not the starving in America, and certainly not our veterans and seniors in America, because they come first. That makes me a bad person? Tough. All right, the other story that I came across, so is the Baltimore Bridge. What's it, about a month old, 3 weeks old? The giant container ship that, floated into the Baltimore Bridge? No. For some reason, it left at 1:30 in the morning, and there were no tugboats to help assist it at 1:30 in the morning, because I'm pretty darn sure there's not any giant spotlights covering the whole port so they could see where they were going. So no tugboats, 1:30 in the morning, so dark, zero dark, and their power goes out, and we see it. Ooh, the lights flicker. But if you look at it and you put in super slow motion, any one of the videos, it makes this huge curve pretty darn fast. Ooh, the lights go out, the power goes out, black smoke comes out of the chimney. Well, that's when the engines come back on, I assume, and they pick up some speed, and then it makes another sharp turn. Ooh, the power goes out again, the lights come back on, more black smoke out of the smokestack, and slam right into the major footing, pylon, whatever you want to call it, that holds up the bridge. Huge container ship. Huge. So, where were the backup generators? Where were the people up on deck saying, oh, we're going to hit that? I mean, where was the backup for all of this? So here's the strange thing. Let me just throw this out to you. 3 major bridges were hit on the same day. 3. Baltimore was one of them. So here's where it gets really weird. And oh, by the way, its name was, I didn't forget, the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's 1,200 feet long, span, and 1.6 miles long. It's the most heavily traveled I-695 beltway. Major traffic, 30,000 cars per day each way. It's now closed in both directions because you can't get across unless you've got, wings or something. The cargo ship was leaving the Baltimore port for Sri Lanka. It has extensive damage. Well, no kidding. It hits the Francis Scott Key Bridge and causes it to collapse. Now, if you look at numbers of videos, go look at them. Don't believe me. Do your own research. When you look at the ones that are in super slow motion, there's explosions, 2 or 3 explosions here, 2 or 3 explosions in the middle, and 2 or 3 explosions over here. Oh, but Jocelyn, those are the electrical power wires going down. Really? Are they? Huh. 3 sections go down. Go back and look at them. Do your research. I've watched probably 15, and there's some kind of explosions going on. And gee, If it's, such technology, why did the whole thing go down? Why didn't where they hit the pylon? Why didn't just that section go down? Why'd the whole thing go down? I don't know, maybe because where those explosions were? Just saying. Throwing it out, not saying it's right or wrong, true or not true, but do your research, learn to ask questions, stop accepting everything. So it gets even weirder. Those 3 bridges I told you about, the Valley View Bridge, the Indian River Bridge, and the Baltimore Bridge. 3 major bridges one day. 3/26/24. Prove me wrong. Multiple. Then it gets even better. The ship, that container ship, was commissioned by a Danish company. It was operating under a Singapore flag. It was on its way to Sri Lanka. Who owned that container ship? Well, did a little dive. Mitch McConnell, his wife's sister, owned it. Gee, isn't that the lady that was in a Tesla and she drowned when it went into a pond just a couple weeks before that? Just want to talk about, weird things happening. Mitch McConnell's sister, in-law, recently drowned in a Tesla, is listed as the CEO of the company that owns the ship that hits the bridge. Here's another weird little tidbit. The bridge collapses at 1:30 a.m., give or take a few minutes. By 8 a.m. the next morning, so let's say it's 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 6.5 hours later, all officials had finished their investigation and determined it was an accident. Really? An accident? In 6.5 hours, you determined that? Well, not only that, Joey B, 4 hours later, so that's 10 hours later, says that the American taxpayers will be paying for this. Let me go back to this one. Will foot the bill. Well, he said the government, but that's your and my taxes. Will foot the bill to clean up the mess and rebuild the bridge. I'm thinking there's a foreign company out there that owes us an entire brand new bridge. Brand new bridge. Just saying. I mean, don't you? If somebody hits your car, that person's insurance company has to pay you, your insurance company, to fix your car. Why is this any different? Why is this any different? So like I said, 10 hours later, he says, we're going to pay for it 100%. Well, isn't that generous of him to spend your and my hard-earned money when we're having to look whether to buy hamburger or ramen noodles? He goes on, Joey B, to tell the tales of the train journeys, the multiple train journeys that he made over the collapsed Baltimore Bridge. Last time I checked, the Baltimore Bridge did not ever have any railroad tracks. I could be totally drunk as a skunk and still not say and do the dumb things that he says and does on an hourly basis. The commander-in-chief is telling tall tales about his multiple railroad train journeys across the Baltimore Bridge. You can't make this stuff up. You really, really, really can't. It's insane. And I think I had one more little thing. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law died in Johnson City, Texas, a shipping industry CEO. And this was before, this article is before the bridge collapse. Angela Chow, a shipping industry CEO and sister-in-law to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, died on a Texas ranch in February after her car went into a pond and became submerged in the water for an extended period of time. Very sad. She was pronounced dead at 1:40 in the morning. stranger things have happened. So I'm just throwing it out there, just throwing it out there. All right, back to other things going on. In the past week or two, we had the eclipse. We had the really cool trajectory of the eclipse. You can go back and look at all the multiple towns from 2017, that all the towns that it passed over, and then 2024, all the rest of the towns that it passed over. They all had the same name. I don't think I wrote down what the names were. No, I didn't. So, very interesting. The other thing, we have Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel went into surgery, rushed to surgery. Putin, same day, rushed with multiple cars, multiple, what would you call it, his secret service, whatever they are, over there in Russia, rushed him away. So all sorts of very weird things going on in the world. We need to look beyond Nashua, beyond New Hampshire. We need to figure out what's going on in the world and see how it affects us, because it all does in one way or another. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to really stuff I've been screenshotting. I think I did 1,000 this week of different stories, so let me get to that. All right. Okay. Came across this really funny little meme. You may not find it funny, but I do. I find it very pertinent, considering I'm talking about your taxes and my taxes, and they're being spent illegally and unconstitutionally by people that were not elected, and sometimes by people that were elected. But it's worse when it's by people that we did not elect, because the people we elect, we give the power, because all power is inherent in the people. You and I hold the purse strings, and we hold the power. They just don't pay attention to that, so we have to change that. But it says you can only forgive, because we're talking about Joey B giving more college students forgiving their debt. But meanwhile, my 3 boys and your kids, we all paid it off. You know, we ate ramen noodles for months and months on end to help pay for college, to help our kids. But he's just going to take more of our tax money and pay off their college debts. Well, gee, if they're not that important, someone else is paying them off. I'd kind of say, why'd you get an education? Why'd you go to college? If it wasn't important enough for you to pay it off, you expect us to. Well, your choice is not my choice. But anyway, you can only forgive debt if it's your own money. So if I lend you $20 and you hem and haw and I don't get paid back, I can look at you and say, you know what? Never mind, don't pay me back. I'm forgiving your debt because it was my money. So I forgive your debt because you borrowed my money. So you see how that works? But forcing others to pay for it is not forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgiveness. It's theft. See the point? Joey B and the rest of these people saying, we're going to forgive your debt but not yours. Your debt, but not yours. And this person, A, it's discrimination, and B, it's theft, because they're stealing our money to pay someone else's debt. That's why they have scholarships at colleges that alumni can donate money and get a tax write-off. That's what that's for, not taking taxpayer money to pay off someone else's debt. This was just kind of cute, just to be happy and a little levity in here. My friend wrote to me and sent this. It was pretty funny. She says, my husband asked if he had any annoying habits. So I sat down, got some snacks, gave him a beer, but he got all offended during the PowerPoint presentation. Kind of naughty, but kind of funny. All right. Serious news. We keep getting these reports of, the economy is doing well and everything's great and hunky-dory and wonderful. Just a few numbers. Quaker Manufacturing is laying off 510 employees in Illinois. Rooster Teeth Productions is laying off 6 employees in Austin, Texas. Big Rock Sports is laying off 81 employees in North Carolina. Open Democracy laid off 20% of its workforce. Stellantis has consolidated its U.S. business centers, reducing from 9 locations across the United States to 6. Jacobs Technology is laying off 463 employees in Maryland. EXL Service is reducing its workforce by 800 positions across the United States. See if we got any more. That's just a few. Just a few. So pay attention, people. Look at what's going on. And the last story that I'm going to share with you is billions with a B of cicadas. You know those things that go, they make that really horrible noise if you go down to Florida, down south. They are due to arrive any day now, including New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, in an event not seen or heard in over 200 years. Kind of like the eclipse. So this is another one. Let's see. First month of spring, several states and millions of people will definitely hear before they see the incredible billions of cicadas emerging from the ground, not seen in 200 years. It's a 17-year life cycle, reaching adulthood at the same time. It hasn't happened in 200 years, and according to Script News, the next time this will happen will be in 2045. So pretty cool. So just a little warning, it may feel like and sound like a scary movie, even with the trillions spread out across the most populated parts of the United States. Don't be afraid of, they do not bite, they do not sting. As a matter of fact, there's nothing hazardous for us humans or our pets at all. Maybe creepy, maybe crawly, even wild animals are fine. It'll last about 6 weeks, which is how long adult cicadas can live as they mate, lay new eggs before their shells litter the ground. The only warning is when they're in the trees, they can pee on you. And they have several pictures of these strange little animals that are going to be everywhere for 6 weeks. It will bring a new definition to jet stream. So on that note, we're going to finish there. Like I said, just a week in review, just a few stories. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some information. I hope you got a little giggle. Have a fabulous rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week in my regular show, Just Jocelyn.